A woman obligated in the mitzvah of procreation, of Paru R-Vue. At first glance, it sounds like something automatic. Like, of course, the women are obligated in Paru R-Vue. They're the people. They are the ones having the children. So, how could it not be? However, upon deeper inspection, we see a woman is exempt from Paru R-Vue. As the Gemara in Kedushin tells us, Paru R-Vue v'kivshuha, b'yipfruj v'motvai, and it says v'kivshuha, and you shall conquer it. And the Gemara says it's the way of man to conquer, not women. So from here, the Gemara deduces that women are exempt from the mitzvah of Paru R-Vue. And in fact, in Hasidic Svarim they write, and that's the reason why, technically speaking, a woman is exempt from the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, of Torah study. Of course, she's chayiv in Torah study. The difference, she has to learn different things. And Nashim chayavas b'birchas HaTorah. Women are obligated in saying birchas HaTorah every morning. However, in the strict definition, born enough in the pasuk in Kriyas Shema, women are exempt. So why is she exempt? So they say in Hasidic circles because when we talk about learning in the Beis HaMedrash, in contrast to a library, the Milchamta Shel Torah, the battle of Torah, and since it's a battle, so women are exempt. So either way, whatever the reason is, the Gemara says that Paru R-Vue v'kivshuha. In fact, it's a famous Meshach Chachma on Parashas Noach, which tries to explain the reason. He says, Dorachecha darchei Noam, that God's ways are straight and sweet, and therefore we never command women to go through that terrible pain of childbirth. And therefore, he had to put the chiyuv on the man. That's why he created a maternal instinct. A woman will want to have children, because you have to want her to go through the pain of childbirth. You have to have that instinct. And therefore, he didn't want to give a command which involved so much pain to the women, so he gave it to the man. So women are exempt, even though, we'll see, there might be other aspects where the mitzvah of helping the husband in the mitzvah of Paru R-Vue, or maybe there's a mitzvah of L'Shevet Yisera, the pasuk in Isaiah, that the world wasn't created to be left desolate. There might be other aspects to midrabanan in terms of women being chayiv. I mean, our Torah, from the strict, rigid definition of Paru R-Vue, a woman's exempt. In fact, the Meshach Chachma points out that originally it had Paru R-Vue in Lashon Rabim, and later on in Paro Rabba, later on in Lashon Yachid. And he points out originally women were chayiv in Paru R-Vue. It wasn't until after the sin of the Eitz Hadas that the pain of childbirth was brought on. Beforehand, it wasn't painful, and therefore women were obligated. After the pain of childbirth, so God moved the mitzvah onto solely upon the men. So either way, that's the first answer to the Meshach Chachma, because the pain involved, therefore God didn't want to command it. What about commanding men in Milah? So again, you could say that Milah doesn't have the same amount of pain as childbirth, and as well, that's why perhaps why we have it day 8, not when we're 13 or some other time, because it's a lot more painful when you get older. So either way, that's what the Meshach Chachma writes. In general, Dorachecha darchei Noam, and therefore God didn't want to give them a mitzvah which involves so much pain. Also on the psychological realm, the Meshach Chachma points out that we know that in our Torah, biblically speaking, a man could have many wives. Today, Chayim Dereno Gershon, and there are many other reasons why men only have one wife. So strictly speaking, you can have many wives, or biblically speaking, that is. However, a woman can never have more than one husband, because there's a basic issue of, number one, you have to know who the child is. I mean, you have to know, you always know who the mother is, because wherever the baby pops out of. In fact, that's why for a Misha Be'erach, for a Chola, when it comes to a Misha Be'erach for a sick person, we always go the mother's name because we know for sure who the mother is. We're not always so sure who the father is. So father is only based on Chazaka, and the mother we know. So a woman can't have more than one husband because we don't know who daddy is. And also, and because of that, therefore, if a woman did want to remarry someone else, she'd have to get a divorce. So imagine the husband and wife love each other, and they're married for whatever, 5, 10 years, and they can't have kids. So if the woman was obligated in Paru R-Vue, she'd have to divorce her husband. In theory, if a husband and wife were still in love, and the husband can't have kids, so in theory back then he could have got another wife. He didn't have to, he stood and stayed married. Today anyway, that halacha we assume of 10 years doesn't apply, Bisman Hazeh. Maybe in Sephardi circles it does, but that's a separate discussion. So that's the Meshach Chochmah. That the reason why women are exempt from Paru R-Vue either because physical reasons or psychological reasons. But, and in fact, why do men become chayev at, when do men become obligated in the mitzvah Paru R-Vue? So Pashas, like all other mitzvahs, when they become bar mitzvah, they become chayev in Paru R-Vue. And obviously then until you get married, so you can't fulfill it, but one is potentially can fulfill that mitzvah then. Like we find by most mitzvahs. However, we know we have a minig by a talis, by a minig Ashkenaz, is they don't wear a talis until they get married. Because it's from the juxtaposition, the Achronim point out, the Torah says, Ki yikach yesh isha, the mitzvah of Kedushin, and then right next to it, the mitzvah of Gedilim Taselog, the mitzvah of Tzitzis. So from the juxtaposition, some Achronim learn that's the source of the minig Ashkenaz, that men and women, that men don't wear a talis until they get married in Ashkenaz circles. So too, some point out that the source is, that the source of Paru R-Vue is Vikivshua, is on conquering, so the men weren't obligated only during the ages of 20 and 60. So some want to suggest that the mitzvah of Paru R-Vue doesn't begin until you're 20, learned out from the connection with the war. So we pointed out, even though perhaps a woman doesn't have the technical obligation of Paru R-Vue, however, either she's obligated based on Misayeh with Var Mitzvah in order to enable a husband to fulfill the mitzvah, so therefore should be chayev on that angle, or as others suggest, there's a mitzvah in Yeshaya of God didn't create the world to leave it desolate. He created the world that its people should be in it, and therefore there's a mitzvah to populate the world. So it's 2 days in Tosas and Gittin whether the mitzvah of Lasheves Yitzera applies to women or not. What is the Nekudas HaMachlokas? What is the issue? Whether they apply to women or not. The issue is, what is the nature of the mitzvah of Sheves? Is Sheves an independent mitzvah, or is Sheves an outgrowth of the mitzvah of Paru R-Vue? Paru R-Vue is, you have a technical obligation, a male and a woman, you need at least 2 kids. Sheves would be if you have 1 kid, if you have 5 girls, etc. There's no limit on Sheves Yitzera. So therefore, it's a shaila 2 days in Tosas whether Paru R-Vue and Sheves are one mitzvah, different forms, or Sheves an independent mitzvah. My nafkamina, what's the difference? Either way, there's a mitzvah of Sheves. The nafkamina is, the practical difference is whether women are obligated. If it stems from Paru R-Vue, so just like they're exempt from Paru R-Vue, so too they're exempt from Sheves. However, if it's an independent mitzvah, so they can be exempt from Paru R-Vue, and they could still be chayev in Sheves. That seems to be 2 days in in Gittin in the Bali Tosfos, and the Minchas Chinuch goes into the Mitzvah Aleph in more detail. What about an Evet Kanani? With the Evet, because we know Evet Kanani is usually compared to a woman in terms of their obligation in mitzvahs. Whatever a woman is obligated in, an Evet Kanani is. So Pashas and an Evet Kanani then would not be chayev in Paru R-Vue because it's no Mili Isha. However, perhaps when do we say you make a comparison between an Isha and Evet Kanani? That's only regarding the mitzvahs Aseh Shazman Grama, the mitzvahs that have to do with the women. But what about specific male versus female mitzvahs? Like the prohibition of a razor, perhaps, or other mitzvahs, would they also apply to Evet Kananis? That seems to be a discussion in the Achronim, whether regarding the distinctions between male and female, because in Evet Kanani is a male, and therefore he should be involved in the mitzvah of Paru R-Vue. So that's a discussion in terms of how far you take the connection from Evet Kanani to Isha. But either way, we'll stop here, but that's what we pointed out. It's clear now, Bisman Hazeh, women are exempt from the mitzvah of Paru R-Vue, and the Meshech Chochmah suggests Derechecha Darchei Noam, either because of the physical pain or the psychological harm it might cause if a woman will chayiv in Paru R-Vue. Therefore, we exempted her, so technically speaking. And then the question is whether they're obligated in the other mitzvah of Sheves, the pasuk in Yeshaya, and then whether the chayiv into Misayel Dvar mitzvah, does it fall in the rubrics? But nevertheless, the bottom line, that's why God created the woman with the maternal instincts. Even though they're going to go through this tremendous pain, nevertheless, they want to have children.